Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We're excited to have Peggy Smith here joining us once again, and things are looking good for us today. Peggy, we're excited to have you here as a hypnotherapist, registered nurse at Happy Possibilities. Also, a real life clown, making people laugh whole life, right? A woman who wears many hats, and we're back to have her here. How are you? We're excited to have her here.
Oh, I'm excited to be back. Thank you.
Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do. And by the way, I do have your notes now. We're going to talk about hypnosis and smoking to start in just a sec. But tell us a little bit about what you do first.
Okay. I have a hypnosis practice, private practice outside of Philadelphia. Also some energy medicine. I'm a registered nurse a little over about 45 years. And for about 12 years of that, I've been doing alternative health. And I work with people on both medical problems. I'm certified medical pain management and just about anything that hypnosis can be helpful for. Today, we're going to talk about smoking and touch a little bit on other addictions too, and how hypnosis can help that.
Beautiful. And how does hypnosis help someone stop smoking? How does that work? That's probably the first thing I ever heard about hypnosis many years ago was about it can help you stop smoking. Then I heard lose weight. And now I hear thousands of things that it could help with. So this is awesome how the field has grown, or, at least my knowledge has grown, a lot of us. I'm sure you knew about all the benefits back then. I didn't. So yeah, let's talk about smoking and how to help someone cease smoking.
Okay, well, smoking is one of the easiest things, probably because it's what they've used it, the longest, for other than psychoanalysis back in the Freud days. And it usually can stop smoking in as little as one session, sometimes one major session, and then about a month or two later, a booster to help with some of the cravings that might come up. But it does take somewhat of a basic desire to want to stop smoking. If you totally don't want to give it up, I can't make you through hypnosis.
Mm-hmm. So you have to want it.
You have to have some motivation, whether it's, you want to see your grandbabies and they won't let you go if you smell like smoke, or, you have a new car, your car smells like smoke, or just the cost of cigarettes has been motivating for a lot of people in today's economy. I've never smoked, but I understand from relatives that do, it's quite expensive to buy a pack of cigarettes now and maintain that habit. So basically, hypnosis actually anticipates some of the mental blocks that a person might be having to give it up. In my initial conversation with them, I asked them how long they've been smoking, how many cigarettes packs they smoke a day. Do they have any other health problems, or, I try to find out what motivates them. And sometimes I can see the health problems because I'm a nurse and I can assess people visually. But for people that do it virtually, it's not necessary to be there in person. A lot of people have stopped smoking in group hypnosis sessions. Some employers will actually offer group hypnosis at the job to try to help people stop because it saves them money on their health insurance bills. Just gives them healthier people to work, miss less work and things. I think smokers tend to miss more work, take more sick days than the average person, and they just have a lot of health problems, but some of the problems are reversible.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
So, all right, great question. So again, you have to want to do it, but it can help. If you really want to, it could help. And what about the succession rate? How many sessions? Is it different for everyone? How does that work, Peggy?
it's different for everyone, but like I said, most people 1 to 2 sessions is enough.
Really?
But what some people find that it's so relaxing and that they want to come more and they create other problems, or they have other issues, and well, can I do it with this?
All right.
Because it is a nice time out in life just to really relax. And that's what hypnosis is. It's a state of enhanced relaxation that opens up your mind, makes it receptive to new suggestions and new ideas.
Awesome. And now, speaking of addictions, what other addictions does hypnosis help with?
It can help with any of the addictions: drug, alcohol, sugar. I get a lot of requests for sugar addictions, along with the weight loss. It's people do hypnosis for electronic, the Facebook addiction, the social media addiction. any kind of behavior that's excessive, that takes over your life. When we're talking about a physiological addiction like alcohol or drugs, I strongly recommend that somebody be in a 12-step program or have a very good support system, because as a nurse, I don't believe that hypnosis alone can fix that problem. And there could be some medical problems related to stopping cold turkey and things like that. It needs to be medically supervised by a doctor. So, but I can certainly support a lot of the anxiety and the cravings and things like that, and just issues that come along when you're trying to give up a habit that's controlled your life for so long.
Wow. Wow. And is there any side effects with hypnosis?
Actually, some people complain of a mild headache, sometimes a mild dizziness. And I think what it is you're just so relaxed that your blood pressure gets really low. If you're not used to low blood pressure and you don't typically drink enough water, being that relaxed could actually make you feel a little dizzy. You just need to, when I'm bringing them out of the hypnosis trance, I make sure that they're wide awake and ready to go home and drive. And my recordings, I always start off with a disclaimer: don't listen to this when you're driving or operating heavy machinery. So there's other than the headaches though, and some drop in blood pressure, there really isn't too many serious side effects. It's something that doesn't always work, but it certainly can't hurt.
Wow.
So, and the success rate, I guess about anywhere from 20 to 50% of people are successful the first time they try. It goes up with some people that maybe just weren't ready the first time they tried. They come back in 6 months or a year, and then the rate is a lot higher, 60 to 80. There's been a study, several studies actually, that show that hypnosis, some people have a DNA and genetic propensity to be more responsive to hypnosis than other people. So that it's not just you're psychologically resistant or giving somebody a hard time. That some people really you've got physical challenges that prevent you from taking full advantage of something like this.
Wow. Wow. Well, this is amazing work because you've been doing this, by the way, for new listeners, it's always important to establish how long you've been doing this for, your credentials, if you don't mind, and then we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, I've been doing hypnosis since about 2008, and prior to that was doing some other alternative health things in my nursing practice. But I began hypnosis when I was a cancer survivor, and I wanted to offer people a non-medical way of managing pain and the side effects of chemo. And it just kind of blossomed from there. It's, I like the idea that it's relatively inexpensive when you look at the cost of other options, and it's harmless in that it either works or doesn't work, but it doesn't hurt you in the process.
Interesting. Now, also, I got to ask, you've been doing this, and in all your years, has there ever been a time hypnosis didn't work for someone? Is it possible? Is it
It
only
is
because they
possible.
didn't, but is it usually because they really deep down didn't want it? Right?
Sometimes it's because they were resistant. They really didn't want to quit. In the case of other addictions, I've had phone calls asking me, I'm in court-ordered treatment for my addiction. Can I come to see you and you'll sign off on my paperwork? And the answer is no, I won't do that. I'd be glad to help you in addition to whoever is going to sign off on your paperwork. But I'm not a choice to be the only choice, or instead of I'm not going to help somebody skirt the system, and that's not helpful for if you're serious about it. And that kind of person isn't usually serious. I've had people with alcohol say, I know I have a drinking problem and I don't really want to stop drinking, but maybe you could help me just drink 3 to 5 drinks at a time instead of the whole bottle. And I don't usually accept that client either, because it doesn't look like it's going to have a good outcome for either of us.
Yeah. Now, wow, interesting. Now, people want to know, are the results permanent with hypnosis? How would you answer that question?
Everybody's different, but
Mhm.
I do follow up with people that have come,
Mhm.
a couple years later, see if they're, how they're doing. Social media makes it easy to follow up with people you haven't seen in a while. And a lot of people are permanent, and permanent is, I guess we define that more than a couple years, because they've been able to get enough positive reinforcement not being a smoker. And this, maybe they've learned how to control their stress. That's a big part of being successful and coping with your addictions. Because trying to stop something that you've been using as a crutch or really physiologically addicted to for a long time is going to create other stressors. So it's not just abracadabra, you're not going to smoke. We talk about maybe increasing the water and exercise. That's important when you're trying to give up anything.
Abracadabra. I like that. Abracadabra with your magic wand. Peggy and her magic wand doesn't work that way.
Yeah. But by offering tools for coping with stress and anxiety, and if your partner's
Mhm.
not willing to stop and you're trying to stop,
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors that make it difficult. But we focus on what the positive aspects of it, and the idea that I had a family once, a patient's family, call and complain about the nurse that was going out to see them because she smelled like cigarettes when she got there. And when I talked to the nurse, she says, "Well, I don't know how. I spray myself with Febreze before I get out of the car." And it's like, okay, if you know you need to spray yourself,
Might be an
that was a
underlying issue. Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
But
it's
she didn't
funny.
think she had
But
an issue, and
oh,
and many people are offended, and
yeah.
people with respiratory problems. It makes, like, you're in New York. I don't know how you were breathing a couple of weeks ago, but here in Philly, it was tough.
It was tough here. All of our sports and stuff were canceled for the kids and the recess and the field day. Yep.
Yeah, I'm an asthmatic myself, so
Oh,
my patients were having a very difficult time, and even driving my car, the smoke was coming in through the air conditioning vents.
nothing you could
And,
do.
there was nothing we could do. We can thank Canada. We realized how nice our air is when we thought it was really polluted.
Right? Ah,
But there's always a bright side. Um, and some people ended up in the hospital because it exacerbated their respiratory or COPD problems, and it was challenging for everybody. So, and smoking has its challenges. You get discounts sometimes, or not, maybe not discounts with your health insurance, but you might be charged more if you're a smoker. Certainly, life insurance is rated higher if you're a smoker. Homeowners insurance is higher if you're a smoker. So there's not a lot of positives that I can see from a pragmatic point of view. You know, but I understand it is an addiction, and we work on that part of the brain to find alternatives to replace whatever need that is that you have. I don't usually recommend we suck on candy and do things to gain weight, but people that can increase their water intake, it detoxes them, it makes them just healthier all over, no matter what you're trying to conquer or accomplish. Increasing more water is usually a good solution.
thank you for the reminder. And at this time, why don't we just tell everyone how we can reach out to you and talk about all your contact information, and then we'll continue as we hydrate.
Okay. My phone number in the US is 267-593-5557. And the best website to reach me at is www.notjusthypnosis.biz, B-I-Z. I will be putting on some self-hypnosis MP3s on my website in the next couple of weeks. People can actually order and practice, learn self-hypnosis on their own. Some stress management things, mindfulness, teaching ideas. And, I'm very flexible as far as virtual or in person. Um, Anybody just has questions, feel free to email me or just contact me on the website, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you so much. All right. If you're just tuning in, we have our Peggy Smith joining us, our hypnotherapist and expert. We've been talking about addictions, hypnosis, all that it can help you with. And let's dive deeper. I mean, we know about addictions. Give us some other examples of things that hypnosis can help with that may even shock me. What do you got, Peggy?
Well, there's just about anything that's excessive, hypnosis can help with. Anything that's interfering with your life, and spending. Um, Spending is an addiction. Gambling. Gambling
Mm-hmm.
again is one of those like drinking and alcohol, drinking and drugs that I would recommend a 12-step program because it's really just works better if you have the
Mm-hmm.
support of a sponsor and other programs. You're not trying to do it on your own. COVID made it very difficult for people that were involved in 12-step programs because it's not quite the same to be online with your sponsor on the phone as it is actually going to the meetings and getting the support from your peers that are also struggling with the same challenges. But this basically it's I always offer alternatives and some behavior modification ideas after I interview them and find out what are their triggers and what's the hardest part about why did you not be successful the last time you tried. And very rarely do I find somebody that's never tried at least once or twice in their lifetime.
Oh, wow. Fascinating, fascinating. Now, let me ask you, I always like hearing personal stories and getting reactions of your clients. We talked about some before. Any other ones you want to bring up? Some different examples of your work and obviously how it could be beneficial?
um, I guess with hypnosis, in respect to addictions, a lot of times it's not quite like a regular therapy session, but people realize that they've been kind of fooling themselves. We all
Mm-hmm.
fool ourselves a lot of times. We get through thinking that life is rosy when it's not, and sometimes we fake it till we make it, but which is not a bad philosophy when you need to. But it the underlying issues are still there, and we'll be talking about smoking, and the next thing I know, they're grieving that their dog had died, or
Uh-huh.
they missed their grandfather. They smoked. My ex-husband years ago, when we had our first child, he tried to stop smoking, and his father
Oh,
had been a
wow.
pipe smoker for years, so he thought it would be helpful to stop smoking and go to a pipe like he'd watched his father.
Mm-hmm.
He had never noticed, though, that his father regularly cleaned the pipe. And after using the pipe for several weeks, one day he tilted his head back, a
Oh my
pipe that he'd never
gosh.
cleaned,
Yeah.
and he actually was able to quit tobacco cold turkey that day because
Oh
it was
my
dusting
goodness.
all that stuff in the back of his throat.
Wow.
So, and we had the idea that smoking is, like pipes are less dangerous than
Yeah.
smoking, and vaping is another big addiction that is also expensive, and as it turns out, it's not a healthy alternative to smoking, um, and sometimes leads to not only more abuse but younger people starting thinking that, oh, this isn't as bad as smoking. um, and so I'm seeing a lot of people that want help with the just vaping, to stop that addiction. And
Wow.
even when I didn't know so much about it years ago, I have my third child was a heavy smoker, and I thought, well, maybe I'll offer him this. I paid for the first 3 months of the program, and then I read about it, and that was pretty uneducated and stupid on my part. But I had no sooner given it to him, and like I started reading what did I buy him, and I realized, stop, give it back. It's terrible. You actually have higher cancer rates with vaping than you do cigarettes.
Wow.
So, and we have younger children that, especially with all the flavored things that they can
Yeah.
smoke, it's, excuse me, it's very it's scary, I mean, I think the politicians have tried to make changes with the advertising, but for a while there, the idea of having bubblegum vape, tobaccos and stuff is feed your sugar addiction and get you started on nicotine. And you don't, addiction is usually not one particular issue or problem. It's kind of based in a certain part of your brain. Uh, And so some people have to work harder at addiction if they know that it runs in their family. I actually was adopted, and when I learned about my birth family, who were deceased long before I had met them, I discovered that there was addiction, mostly drinking and PTSD from the war in the background. And first thing I did was tell my then young teenagers, you're really going to have to work hard because daddy's parents had issues, and now we know mommy's parents' family has issues. Yeah. And, I only had one child that ended up, leaning towards smoking and drinking and things. And he also was the worst of my Ritalin kids. So people with ADHD have a bigger challenge in controlling impulses like that, but it's the same part of the brain. So just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you're doomed to have this problem, but you just have to work harder, be more mindful of it.
Okay, my nephew has ADHD. What age can you start working with some with hypnosis? That's another good question. Do you work with children or adolescents?
I do. I work with people on the spectrum. I work with Down syndrome and other mentally challenged people. And because I was a special ed teacher in another lifetime before I was a nurse, my specialty was with, autistic children back when autistic wasn't even as popular as it diagnosed as often as it was. So there's a lot of things. It's kind of like a play therapy type style, use your imagination, and kids are great. They have the best imaginations in the world.
Wow.
And, even children like that have severe physical handicaps, sometimes their mind is clear of just locked inside a body that just won't work with them. And, I can work with them by, in your imagination, let's jump real high, up, reach to the sky. And then they smile because they can picture themselves doing that, and kids are the easiest to work with. They don't have a lot of baggage to stop them from, being successful.
Wow. This is amazing work. And we have only 2 minutes left in the show. And in closing, I want to point out the work you're doing. People can contact you directly there on the website. Would you mind sharing again what it is? I know.
Sure. It's notjusthypnosis.biz, B-I-Z. And it's the email is actually the same, notjusthypnosis@gmail.com. The phone number is 267-593-5557. Next week, we're going to start talking about weight loss and some of the options with that, and go a little bit into the bariatric surgery hypnosis.
Awesome. Good to
know. Which is where you kind of convince your mind that you've had the surgery without the side effects, and, there's the success rates with that and the safety issues with that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Peggy Smith. You have a fantastic day. Pleasure always having you, full of knowledge. And are you still working as a clown part-time if anyone's interested?
The hospitals haven't restarted us yet because of COVID precautions, but I'm waiting for the phone call.
Like I said, a woman with many hats. Thank you so much, Peggy. Have a fantastic day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.